So the insulin resistance and everything with that has improved so dramatically following the advice that I've gotten from Susan, and it's put me where I am today, which is on the path to. I'm not sure where I need to stop weight loss. I thought somewhere under 220, but when I look at myself right now, I said, maybe got to go a little further than that. So,
I think your body will naturally see where it wants to be, but I think is important also is you were ready. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
and Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We are your co-hosts. I am Susan Robbins, here with the lovely
Kate King. And today we have one of Susan's clients to speak to you about the transformative journey he's been on with his health and his genetic expression and all of the amazing things he does in his work with Susan. So, Susan, I'll turn it over to you so you can tell us a little more about our guest today and what he's got for us.
Buckle up. I haven't said that one in a while, but buckle up for this one. This is probably going to be one of the most inspirational clients I've had on. I've known Cal since we were trying to figure it out. Was it 2018 or 2019? But my guest is Cal Hoff. And I met his daughter through our DNA testing certification group. She's also a coach. And she said, my parents need some help. And I was brand new into the PH 360. So it must have been it was early 2020, Cal. So we're 5 years ago. Over five and a half, almost 6 years ago. It was very early 2020. You were one of my first people. And she said, I want my parents to try this because they've got some issues and with weight and other stuff. And so they came on, and just Cal is a guardian and a guardian to the true sense. So when you start working with a guardian, I was told this in the PH 360 training, was they're going to be like family, right? You always have to have some extra time allotted because they want to fill you in on family. And Cal has been exactly like that. And it's just been such a joy working with him. So we worked together initially, and you lost quite a bit of weight and got off of, you had severe gout when we started the first time.
So did.
Yeah. And he was able to get off the gout medication, but when we had worked together in 2020. And I think it was into 2021 as well, and lost a pretty significant amount of weight. They had been doing keto. Everything was like, this is keto, it's low carb. And we know that for guardians, this is just not ideal when there's risks. And there was insulin resistance issues back then, blood pressure, lots of different things happening. Again, did really well, but there was this little niggling factor that didn't want to go away. And he thought he could control, and that was alcoholism. And I just thought, all right, I'm gonna get choked up here because if you knew Cal and have seen the change in Cal since addressing this, not just physically but mentally, his transformation it makes me emotional about him. But going back to the early time we worked together, again, he made a lot of these changes, but the drinking still didn't quite stop. And he thought he could control it. And I'll have him tell his story. They say everybody has to hit rock bottom. And I think, Cal, you actually literally hit rock bottom when you fell and opened up your face, um, i
Mhm.
in trying to detox by yourself. And at that time, the going to rehab wasn't a question, and then it became there was no other way out. And again, I'm gonna have him tell his story here. I'm just giving some background. I just got off a podcast on the GLP-1s that Jillian Michaels did. And she was interrupting these doctors a lot. She's a total activator, I think. Just the way she's talking. I'm like, I relate. I wanted to too. But these docs were saying it's genetic. Like some of these things are so genetic with people with obesity. Okay, I have an obesity gene that the FTO Cal's got it. Several other factors going into it. But really, what everything comes down to is you can take all the drugs, you can do whatever, but it comes down to lifestyle, understanding you, the whys of what you're choosing. And so when we looked at, I'm just going to go over some of Cal's genetics really quickly here before we get into his story. But Cal is a COMTAA, tends to be that's that slow breakdown, very slow breakdown of the neurotransmitters. And you would think, and that's it, so it can be that higher dopamine, but we think with addictions, you tend to chase that dopamine. But when we looked at his alcohol genes, because we actually do test for genes around alcohol in my genetic testing, and he came up with a very high increased risk of dependency and abuse genetically. And so that wasn't a shocker. Poor response to saturated fats, which when you're doing a keto type of diet, those low carb, they tend to fill things in with the high saturated fats. Who's doing a lot of pork and bacon and lots of beef. Cal is a farmer in North Dakota, right? So this is the thing, right? And also the high risk for with a gene called, and I just did a little short on this the other day that'll be coming out, TCF7L2. It's a gene that most people are not familiar with. You don't hear it much, but it is a major type 2 diabetes risk gene. It's just not one of the common ones we hear about. But it is a high risk when you have all the variants or both variants or even one variant there, an increased risk of type 2 diabetes with saturated fat intake. It's a saturated fat thing. He has got both variants in IL-6 and TNF, which are high impact inflammation SNPs, very prone to metabolic syndrome there, which has been currently experiencing. And also as a guardian, the guardian is very much more prone to things like metabolic syndrome, things around the thyroid, but insulin resistance, blood pressure, pancreas issues. Let me see. And then one that we came up with this time, which was surprising because this is actually something new with my genetic reports. The research team is fantastic and they're adding things in all the time. And this was one that we didn't use to test for, but it's caffeine response with glucose. And this is also super telling. His increased insulin resistance risk due to a poor effect of caffeine on glucose metabolism. So, where Cal had turned so many things around when we had started working together, he went from one addiction of alcohol to another addiction of 5 Diet Cokes a day. Diet Cokes loaded with caffeine. And again, people don't think about that because it's diet, not going to harm you. The caffeine, again, can really impair the insulin issues and or impair insulin and the glucose. And this is also stemming from him from a genetic standpoint. And then the last one I'm going to bring up is with choline. We look at PEMT genes and his PEMT, again, very significant gene. This also plays a part in methylation, but he has variants, both variants, homozygous, and both of the COM or the PEMT genes. And this is 30% increased risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. When so Cal came back to me the end of May in a bit of a panic because he was with current labs. He had put a lot of weight back on, came out of the alcoholism, put weight back on, this new addiction to the Diet Cokes which contributed to all this. So Cal came back with this being referred to a kidney specialist, looking at labs, especially at albumin, which is a protein in blood that transports nutrients, and creatinine, which is a waste product filtered by the kidneys. And you look at the albumin creatinine, sorry, two different things there, albumin creatinine ratio. And when there is a presence of the albumin in urine, this is a urine test, when there's a presence in there, then that is indicative of moderate kidney damage. And they say zero from 30, the numbers of 30 to, I think it was 300 I was looking at last night, are the reference range. Over 300, you got kidney damage. They're not working well. But he came up at 219. That's far over the 30. And so he was sent to the nephrologist, to a kidney disease doctor in July, and he wanted to hop on this before he went there because it is a huge wake-up call. And they said, if you stay at that level over 30, and here again, and I looked at labs earlier where he was at 182 in November, then by May, he's at 219. So he was trending upward here and on blood pressure medications, blood sugars, fasting glucose was like 111. No gout. That's good. The gout didn't come back, but still, like all of these things were playing together, and the blood pressure, the insulin resistance were big drivers contributing to that kidney disease. But they said 3 months in that high level or higher, you likely have kidney disease, at least chronic disease. And then there's additional risk factors with the diabetes, high blood pressure. Cal just turned 67. When he started with me, he weighed 273 pounds. Today, Cal said he is down to, and this is in 3 months, 220 pounds. So a weight loss of 53 pounds. Cal, I want you to talk about your story of what you've experienced with everything I've just talked about, and then we'll go a bit more into where you are now as far as numbers, which are phenomenal, and how it took literally 2 weeks to get your blood sugars because he tests his glucose every morning, to get his blood sugars down into the 80s on a regular basis. Literally 2 weeks. And off blood pressure medications. It's phenomenal. So we're just thrilled to have you here and would love to hear. Tell us about this journey.
And Cal, if you feel like it, I hold the psychology perspective on the podcast. And so if there's anything pertinent in your experience for mindset, mental health, specifically, I guess, with the alcoholism, if there have been emotional experiences that you've moved through or emotional growth that you feel you've had, please share that as well, because I think that contributes to a really well-rounded sort of mind-body perspective of healing as well. So take it away.
Absolutely.
Tell us about your story.
Thank you for the invite, Susan, and good to meet you this morning, Kate. And actually, when I first met Susan, I weighed 307 pounds. And we did a lot of work with that. And Susan had mentioned alcoholism and drinking, and I stopped drinking for almost a year at that point, which absolutely not drinking contributed and absolutely helped with the weight loss and improved health at the time. But as I found out, it's very hard to stop drinking on your own. You almost can't do it. Very few people can. And so eventually I ended up drinking heavily again, and probably more heavily than I had in the past. So after that, it got to a crisis point, as Susan mentioned, and probably the rock bottom. I was on the edge of losing everything. Family, what I worked for, everything was going down the tubes. And turns out I have a wonderful doctor who I was honest with, and at 11 o'clock at night, she lives in a different time zone, so it was midnight at her house. I called her, and she sent her husband to pick me up and take me to an emergency room. From there, the next day, I went to treatment. And anyway, or it was a couple of days later, I was in detox for 5 days, I think it was. Terrible. And I had tried to detox on my own before, and it's a awful experience. So anyway,
In the basement, right? You would go down to the basement. That's what you said. I'm going down. I'm going to do my detox. That's what was happening.
that was one of the times. And part of that one was I refused to go to my grandson's first birthday drunk. So I detoxed before going to the birthday. And that was about a month subsequent to me going to treatment. After the birthday, I went right back to the drinking heavily. And I took treatment very seriously, and it was difficult. And partially because I was more than 20, almost 30 years, over 30 years older than anyone else there. Treatment mostly were 20-year-olds, probably. But I ended up, as often happens, in a leadership role there, and that worked a lot. I still stay in contact with the treatment center, and they have several times referred people to me to talk to. So that part has worked really well. And I am involved in AA, and we had a meeting last night, and we have a small group here in Richmond, North Dakota, southwest North Dakota, where I live. And Susan said, I sent Susan a sunrise and a sunset picture this morning. So
Every day, almost every day, I get beautiful pics.
yeah. So anyway,
Cal, question. How many days sober are you now? Because it was right when we started working together, you said it was 1,000 days. So where are you now?
let me go to the Sobriety app. Let's see, where am I? It's 1,060 some days. I will be sober 3 years on September 22nd. And
That's fantastic.
So, doing really well with it. Life-changing. Part of that was, and treatment, they recommend seeing a therapist, and I have been with a therapist ever since. Every week at first, and we meet every 2 weeks now, and there were some contributing factors that aided the reasons for the alcoholism, and we've worked through those. And now I just really enjoy therapy, is just to go in and visit, and mostly is what it's really turned into. It's so comfortable. And the therapist also grew up on a ranch in southwest North Dakota, so we can identify with one another really well. And she's really removed from that, but she grew up with it, so she knows where I'm at really well. It was a good fit.
So I think what you said about finding a therapist that you feel like is a really good fit is so important, and people sometimes underestimate the importance of that, and they think all therapy is created equal and you should just find somebody to talk to. But really, a lot of therapists offer a free initial consultation so that you can catch each other's vibe and see how you resonate, because the trust is really essential. And if you're in a relationship with someone who you don't feel gets you or you don't have trust with, then how are they ever going to support you? So the best thing that you can do for yourself is like interview a few different therapists till you find the one that has that like-mindedness, who you feel really seen by. So Cal, I'm grateful to hear that you feel like you found someone to help you. And I know that that's huge on the journey with healing from alcoholism and really any mental health struggle.
Yeah. And there were a few things that we had to work through, and we did well with it. So and now it's maintenance. I feel there's still things that come up in everyday life that we all struggle with, but working with the therapist has been so helpful. I really enjoy it, and I know several others in my alcoholism that have really grasped that. I'm really good today. Happy. I look forward to waking up every morning. Susan says I wake up too early, but I like sunrises.
But it's gotten better because you were doing So Cal, from the beginning, I had him start sending me everything passing his lips and what times. He's putting his blood pressure, he puts his glucose in the morning, and what time he's going to bed and what time he's waking up. Now we know the guardians are a bit more of a night owl. And also, if you look at another gene of his, MTNR1B, that one a better let's see, increased type 2 diabetes risk with eating later at night, but decreased type 2 diabetes risk with later sleep and wake times. So again, it's trying to bring everything into account. So I've been trying to get him to get away from 4 a.m. wake up. So now there's times I'll see he'll maybe go to bed just a little bit earlier, but there's a later wake up. It could be 5:30, but I've seen some at 6, a little bit later. I'm like, yes, because again, it's that circadian rhythm, the chronobiology. And when you're up too early and moving and doing stressful things, that again can increase that cortisol, which is likely going to be a little bit higher for you in the morning, but can create more issues. So he has actually worked on that. But sleep, you said, is good. Like quality of sleep is good.
Oh, absolutely. I sleep until I wake up. It's once I go to sleep. And I've developed a way that I can clear my mind, and I'm sleeping within minutes of when I say it's time to sleep. So I'm
And you're not eating that big meal
No, that's
at bedtime, which you have been. That's how we are as Americans.
Yeah.
Cal, talk a bit about your now we went through so the alcohol, you worked with that, but now there's the weight gain, there's the Diet Coke has come into play now, and the blood pressure and the insulin resistance and then the kidneys. Can you talk a bit about that, where you had gotten to at that point and when you're like, I need to get this taken care of, and then what that journey's been like?
I was not a soda drinker at all, ever. Water, beer, whiskey were my liquids. And in treatment, they had a pop machine, $1 for a Coke. And that's where I started drinking Diet Coke. And from there, it mushroomed out from there. And it's, and I believe it is a true addiction because when I got to that point with knowing I needed to do something because of the kidney issues that had shown up,
Okay.
Susan was on me. You have got to stop that. So I have. And so the insulin resistance and everything with that has improved so dramatically following the advice that I've gotten from Susan. And it's put me where I am today, which is on the path to. I'm not sure where I need to stop weight loss. I thought somewhere under 220, but when I look at myself right now, I said, maybe got to go a little further than that. So
I think your body will naturally see where it wants to be, but I think is important also is you were ready. That's why I ask people like, are you actually ready to make changes? Because you said, I said, Cal, your numbers here are danger zone, and you were very aware of that. Your doctors made you aware of that. Are you really ready to work with this? And you're like, absolutely. And that's a big question I ask people because you can give all the advice you want and have the PH 360 profile right there in your face. But if you're not ready to take action and do the work, it doesn't matter. And I just remember you so clearly saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm ready to do this. So instead of like typical medicine, functional medicine, when you see the insulin resistance numbers and everything saying you need to cut the carbs, what do we do? The PH 360, and again, knowing this guardian body takes you to a lower protein and a low fat for a shorter period of time. It's temporary, but that very, very small dinner at night with minimal to no animal protein, lots of veggies, some fruit. And again, these are things people are going, how the hell does this change insulin resistance? But by doing that, your blood sugars went from the over hundreds. The first week they dropped down into the mid to high 90s. By week 2, and where you have stayed for almost 3 months now, is into the low to mid 80s on a regular basis. And again, off blood pressure meds, because you were, and the other factor also is, this is a body that needs to move these toxins out, get rid of all of this. And you were very sedentary as well. So you added in movement, regular movement. So he does track that. And he's doing some push-ups and air squats and other things. He's tracking that as well. So I think there's just so many of these lifestyle changes, but things like, if you just watched the Biggest Loser, the documentary on Netflix, and the trainers are, and these are obese people, right? They were where you were, Cal. And the trainers are like having them do, like I said, so like anywhere from 2 to 8 hours of this hardcore exercise, running and screaming in their face that they're being lazy and all. And I'm just sitting here almost in tears going, this is not what these people need. They just need to be eating the right things, get off of these big meals and gentle movement. These trainers are screaming in these people's faces, telling them they're lazy and all this, and they just need to get moving or they can get the hell out of here. And it just broke my heart, because you had a lot of guardians in there. And I think what Cal is showing here, and even Eric, who's been on the program twice, that you don't have to do that, right? It's eating the right foods that your body needs to not exacerbate conditions you have. Look at the genetics, look at the genetic expression. And that's what people don't realize, that your PH360 is your phenotype. It's how everything is currently expressing. So it's thinking, okay, this could potentially be some genes that are expressing this way, and we need to work with this way. And then we look at, there actually are the genetics that's happening. And so it's very personalized to what each person needs at that time. We redo Cal's measurements. He has lost so many stinking inches. It's I didn't write them all down. There's so much loss, inflammation in the neck. And that's a big indicator with diabetes, inflammation around the joints, the rib cage, the waist. It's just phenomenal. But it got to a point where he was getting lightheaded. When he stood up this summer, he's, I'm getting lightheaded. I said, I think it's the blood pressure. And he talked to his doc, and the kidney doc said, stay on the blood pressure meds. I'm going, blood pressure is ideal. And if the blood pressure meds were working in the first place, you wouldn't have been here, right? Because he was on the blood pressure meds, but the blood pressure was still high. You change the lifestyle. And his general practitioner that he loves, Dr. Rhonda, said to him at the visit, I think it was last week, said, get off the blood pressure meds and let's see how it goes. And your blood pressure has been beautiful, because you took these lifestyle steps.
Yes, exactly. And it was almost 2 weeks ago now that, and she surprised me by saying, get off of them. I expected she to say, instead of 50 milligrams, take 25 of losartan, which I was on. And she just said, looked at it and said, get off of them, see how it goes. And my blood pressure has not gone up, and it's been just stable without it. And the lightheadedness is gone. So I feel so good about that. So on absolutely no meds at this point.
Wow, that's
Isn't
amazing.
that just amazing? It's just amazing. I mean, this is, like I said, when you looked at the labs and the seriousness of the kidney issue, and talk about, you went to see the kidney doctor by July 18th. And what did he say?
Well, the kidney doctor, the nephrologist, first of all, he instantly looked at my ankles and just took that glance like doctors do. And he was like, okay, you go to work here now. And anyway, he said the damage, what he looked at, was probably from high blood pressure and history of smoking. I haven't smoked in 25 years. But he said that is probably the source of the damage. He ordered a pile of blood tests. I should have taken a sandwich along, because I've donated blood in the past, and you need, or at least they should have offered a cookie. But we did a lot of blood testing, and I can have some understanding of basic blood tests. The stuff that he did,
Yeah.
you can't read it. I sent it to you, Susan. And
Yeah. I had to look a lot of stuff up.
anyway, in starting this, my goal was when I go to see the nephrologist on July 18th, which would have been 6 weeks into this, that he asked, "Why are you here?" And in the end, he said, "I'm really not concerned. Let's do some tests. Let's do a kidney scan, and I'll see you in December." So he is
Big difference.
pretty unconcerned at that point. And since then, with the blood tests we did just recently, everything has improved dramatically. My A1C went from a 6.1 to a 5.5, which my Dr. Rhonda cannot. She said, "I can't believe that happened." So
Yeah.
yeah,
And that number, the albumin creatinine ratio went from 219 in May to, I think, was it 59? I thought I wrote it down. It was like
53.
53.
But it's like a 75% improvement. And it's still above where it should be, above the 30, but we're it's gone. We're going to get it there. So,
Oh, yeah. Major trend downward. Like I said, you were actually trending upward. You had been at 182, then 219, and now in that 2-month period down to 53. That's huge.
mhm.
That's a huge difference. I think it's just been phenomenal watching your numbers, and you like talk a bit about your energy, even like personal relationships. I worked with you and your wife years ago, and the difference between the two of you interacting is like night and day. It was a coldness, and I think alcohol played a part there in the beginning. And now it's such a difference with the relationship. You just see the love coming from the both of you towards each other. And uh, again, you have both really understood yourselves. His wife is a diplomat down towards censor. So a very, very big difference where there's Cal is the I want to love you, hold you, squeeze you, I want this. And when you have someone down on that censor cuss, they're more like, I need my space. I need to go away. And could create some issues too. And now you see there's a really beautiful flow with you guys.
Yeah. Our love languages go like this. Go through do the love language thing. Yeah. Physical touch is my number one, and I don't be a 5 for Julie. But no, Julie put up a lot when I was the years of alcoholism, and Julie drank quite a lot too, and not to anywhere close to the point I was, but we would enjoy drinking together often. But in the process of treatment, I did ask Julie to stop drinking, and she did. She agreed to it. So she hasn't had anything. She's been off alcohol for just about the same period of time I have been, which is really beneficial to my sobriety that she was supportive that way. And our relationship is great. We're coming up on 46 years of marriage. Our relationship is terrific at this point, loving, and we're in tune with each other again. And we also have 2 really cool grandkids. They're not in the basement right now. I can hear them. And the older one is 4. It's his birthday today, so there will be a celebration this afternoon. And the other one will be 2 in October. They're a ton of fun at this age. You know. So we're
Yeah, and
enjoying
I hear you with there's a lot of hope as you talk about your story, and you talk about the elements that you have done a lot of this work on your own, Cal. It was your own internal motivation and your own, like, fire to change and to move, but then you also knew that tipping point when it was time to ask for help, for going to treatment and asking for help, for asking your wife to stop drinking, which supports you and ultimately supports her health and the health of your relationship. So I think that as you're talking, there's this really beautiful combination of really what it takes to make this type of change, where some of it comes from you and some of it has to come from outside of you. And hearing you just talk about your grandchildren and the life that you're living and the relationships that you keep with the treatment center and with your doctors, I just hear a lot of hope inside of your voice. And I'm curious, Cal, have you always been a really hopeful person, or is that something that you've gained along the way?
I consider myself foolishly optimistic that I think things will turn out better than they possibly can. So yes, I've always been very upbeat. I don't get down easily to
Yeah.
yeah.
And has this experience of really watching yourself move through all of this, all these challenges and into a life that feels better, into a body that feels better, how in some ways has that even enhanced that positive outlook or changed your mindset? Because you sound very empowered.
I think just the fact that I can do this and I have helped others do this. And working with that's part of the AA culture to help others. That's what we do. And that can be extremely rewarding and it can be extremely challenging.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as we
Understanding,
talked about,
understanding addiction is a road to discovery for myself that all the things that I didn't know about it, not knowing that it's you can't do this on your own. That how hard it is, how detoxing, how dangerous detoxing can be, where
Mhm.
stitches because of it. So
Yeah. And as you talked about earlier, there's this swap that can happen with addictive personalities and addictive genetics. Susan, maybe you can speak to that too, where sometimes one addiction will be swapped out for another one, like what you did with alcohol and Diet Coke, where it feels like you're choosing the lesser evil. And maybe it's okay to be addicted to some things, but not other things, when ultimately, I think we're always seeking balance. And so, addiction in any form, having the inability to stop taking something or doing something, is always out of balance. It's always skewed. And so, if you have that personality or that genetic expression where you're just a little more vulnerable to addiction, I think it's so powerful to really remember that it's not just alcohol, right? Like, you can stop your alcohol addiction, but you still have to remain vigilant and make sure that you're not leapfrogging directly into a different type of addiction that creates its own set of problems in your life. That's another area where you have gained a lot of awareness and asked for support and ultimately moved through those barriers.
yeah, and thankful that I had the resource of Susan out there waiting for me to give her a call again and get back on board, and knowing that that was where the help was that I needed. So
Mhm.
I have recommended her services to others who certainly could benefit. Yeah. So
They just everybody has to be ready
sure. Yeah.
in their own time. But I missed you. Again, you become like family. Now I know when I get up, there's because Cal even as an activator, a lot of times he beats me up. Like not beats me, like he beats me awake in the morning. And there's the picture of a beautiful sunrise in the morning, and here's what's happening, and he'll send me his food, and I look forward to that. It's just he's just a beautiful soul, and I'm so happy to see him where he is. And again, it's easy to fall back into the old habits of what you were doing before, right? To have these little relapses with food and the importance, because I know Cal loves a steak. Who doesn't love a good ribeye, right? And love the beef and everything. But it was really important to with this guardian body that has slower metabolism, is more prone to increased inflammation and fluid retention, and it's exacerbated by a high protein and fat intake. Excessive protein and fats in this guardian body, it increases that fluid retention and inflammation. And again, you see where he ends up. The profile with someone like this, and it did the same with Eric. If you remember talking about his labs, but huge. He was full blown into the insulin resistance, and the kidney numbers were not good, liver numbers, some similarities. But the lower protein And the low fat really helps to slow for Cal that progress of chronic kidney disease. It's more protective of the kidneys, loading up on lots of healthy veggies, some low glycemic fruits, and it reduces the amount of oxidative stress. And oxidative stress, like basically the body has the toxins come in, right? These are your free radicals. Oxidative stress, when it's too many of the harmful molecules and the antioxidants, there's not enough to come in and have that balance between the two. So it's like that bucket fills up. And so the free radicals can create cellular damage where the antioxidants are protective. And so that balance was way off for him. And so the type of foods that were on there were higher antioxidant and to decrease this inflammation, the oxidative stress on this body, which helped with the kidney issue and why we saw such a drastic drop in the numbers and then the numbers with the insulin resistance as well. So it's there's reasons why the pH 360, again, taking everything into account, what he's experiencing, why it'll recommend certain things for some people and not for others. I would be a very different scenario. So would you, Kate, than what Cal was. But he didn't freak out. He just said, nope, I've got this. I'm ready. And he hit it. And he's having, again, like super light dinners to take that metabolic stress off at night. And the lunches is the big meal, and that's where we're really putting in the protein, which is a lot of salmon. There's what do salmon,
Cod,
chicken,
chicken.
cod.
Yeah. Those are the proteins mostly that I've been having. And part of this is that I like vegetables. I can eat just about anything and enjoy it. And the other part of the protein was the beans, different types of beans that we've done quite a bit of. That's been a staple in there also.
And quinoa, chia pudding.
Quinoa, yep, yep. Those two, those also.
Yeah. And you said because I always ask, how's your energy?
My energy is good. I I still go out and I have to do what I do. I'm still help my son with the farm. And so after this interview, I'll be out on a combine today where Susan said we got to stop and get that move around a bit. So is maybe get out and go walk around the combine. Yep, everything's okay and back up on there and keep it moving. But, but
Do a few squats there.
Yeah. The other part of this is to the morning walk. I walk out and take a sunrise picture. Wait until it's right, and
You get some beauties.
Really look forward to that sunrise. I think sometimes you need that thing that pulls you out of bed that you look forward to. And in your case, even though it might not be the perfect recipe for your guardian body to be getting up early, it's good for your soul on a level to be meeting the sun as it rises. And so this is a good example of how sometimes you get to make an executive decision and supersede your pH 360 health type in cases where it doesn't do a lot of harm, but it really contributes a lot of good on an internal level. So I love that you do that and that you're not so rigid to your health type that you're actually sacrificing something that matters to you in the morning.
He's not doing something high intense. So that's what we talked about. But Cal was only getting 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Most of my life was 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And and part of the problem is that early morning in ranching and farming, that's what we did. But what Kate just talked about, the podcast I watched with Dr. Cam also addressed that, adjusting that sleep time. And my time in the morning is my self time and quietness. And I struggle terribly with meditation, but that's the time. Yeah, that early morning, that is my time when I by myself, and I like to be around people. I enjoy that. I need that social interaction, but that early morning, that's my time, and that's when I pull it together.
So, Cal, to bring this towards the end here, where do you see yourself from here? We know the profile is going to change. You're going to have foods come back, but where do you see yourself headed from this point?
I've continued to improve my health and get that creatine ratio down to where it's no longer a concern. And then the maintenance of staying there and staying with this. And I have a great bike electric bike, a two-wheel drive mountain bike that I love to ride. And we've had a very wet summer here. So I ride back roads and hills. So that's been a bit of a struggle, but I enjoy doing that. And just to continue with the healthy eating. And I think the number one thing for me is that evening meal, to keep that one on track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We often ask a question at the end with our guests. I think you've actually just answered it, but just to bring it full circle, we ask our guests. So my work is the Radiant Life Project, which is all about showing up in your present moment to activate the most healthy, radiant life. And as Susan does the DNA and epigenetics work. And so the question that we often ask is, what are you doing today in this moment to cultivate your radiant life through epigenetics? And you really did speak to that just now with the electric bike and the smaller meal
Mornings.
the mornings. But I guess, is there any very last thing you'd like to include about what you're doing in the moment right now to activate that radiant life through epigenetics?
Through epigenetics, where that question takes me is to the help with other alcoholics. I texted with some of them this morning, and people who are still struggling. And it's part of what I do, and open to that at any time.
I
And
love that so much.
and if it's possible to help them with their health otherwise, mental and physical.
Mhm.
Part of what maybe as a guardian that I'm called to do also.
Absolutely. That's exactly what was going through my head. Is just you're just so into what comes innately to you. You're in such your flow, right? We talk about being in flow. Cal, you are in such a flow, and you're able to give because this is what guardians do. Let me take care of you, and to be able to help people. And like you said, it just fills you up. It fills your soul, and that creates that radiant life for you. It's a huge part of who you are, wanting to help everybody. And the part that I like the most, because what the guardians tend to run into is they put themselves last. And you're like, nope, I'm going to get up. I'm going to the garage. That's my me time. I could see the sun from there coming up. And that's your Cal time. And then you start, like you said, you've already texted people. Then you start, you don't even realize you're doing all these principles, checking with the loved ones. So then you can go back into your flow again, your personal flow, and take care of you. So you're doing it and you're living it and you're seeing what a radiant life it's creating for you. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful that you came back to me. Here we go. Here are the emotions to walk this part of the journey with you, because you are such, like I said, just such a beautiful soul. And I'm so happy. I didn't want to see you come back this way, but I'm so glad you did. And you're just a joy to work with, and you'll be a part of my life the rest of my life. And I'm so very grateful for that.
And I'm
So,
grateful
Thanks,
to
Susan.
have met you. Thank you so much for coming, Cal, and for sharing your story and for sharing your presence. I hope our listeners really benefit from this conversation. I'm grateful for it myself.
yeah, reach out, people. If Cal resonated with you, whether it's the alcoholism through AA, get help. It's never too early. It's never too late to make changes. If you need help with health and you're trying everything and you're really not sure where to go, and you have major issues happening, and you want to be seen as an individual and stop the guesswork and get results, hit me up. If you have some things going on, maybe with mental health, and you think Kate can help you live a more radiant life, reach out to Kate. There's 3 avenues here. And we're all here. We all want to help because we all deserve to live our most radiant lives and be our most authentic selves. And I think that's what Cal has really demonstrated today. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable and sharing this part of your life with us today. So get out there, make it a great day, be your most authentic selves, and let you shine. Please, please, please share this podcast because you may reach one person that needs to hear this story today. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life Coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.